Back with legendary investor Jim Rogers. Jim, when you wrote this book, A Gift to My Children, A Father's Lessons for Life and Investing, when you first thought about this, was it as urgent in your mind? It probably was.
Well, actually, that book started, I was very against children. I never wanted to have children. I thought children were a terrible waste of time, money, energy. I felt sorry for people who had children. My friends who had children, I said, you poor saps. I was so wrong. Totally 100% wrong about children. Children are so wonderful and so much fun. So this little girl came along and just blew me away. So I had another one too, because I thought it was so much fun. In fact, if there's anybody here who hasn't had children, go home and get on with it. I promise you, because take a day off if you have to. Or, well, no, don't take a day off these days. Go home for lunch.
Anthony Weiner does that.
Go home for lunch.
Let's move off of that.
But yeah, let's leave that alone.
Yeah, let's leave that alone.
But so I started writing down things that I thought I would want to tell her when she got older. And then a reporter called me and started asking me, what do you teach your children? And she wrote an article, and one thing led to another, and here we have a book.
Because the things that you write on in this are, I mean, it's what's amazing is it's common sense. It used to be. It's the things that my grandparents and my parents used to say. Above all, be ethical. Save. Focus on what you like. This is where I kind of want to take it here for a second on I'm a big believer in education, but George Washington was self-educated. You don't have to go through to an Ivy League school and spend $300,000 because you're not going to get the return on that investment most cases. Sometimes you will. Most cases you won't. And people don't understand that they start out looking for the money. Money, do you agree with me? Money is a byproduct. You focus on what you love to do and create, and the money comes secondary.
The money will follow, yes. If you do your job and do it better than anybody else, the money is going to follow you. I tell my little girl, she's only 8, but I say, look, if you want to be a gardener, Daddy's going to bite his tongue and say, okay, become a gardener. Because the people who do what they want never go to work. They wake up every day and start having fun. They can hardly wait. And someday she will be the gardener at Buckingham Palace, and someday she'll have a chain of garden shops all across America, and she'll be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Everybody will say, we always knew you'd be a good gardener.
Right. But she doesn't necessarily even have to have that, and she's complete inside.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. Even if she's not on the New York Stock Exchange,
right,
she's going to be happy.
Right.
Very happy.
Right. Go back to the advice of school, because I know you went to an Ivy League.
Don't bring it up, yes.
Nobody is talking, we all talk about how much health insurance has gone up, but nobody has really, at least in Washington, talked about faster than health insurance, education has gone up. And it's a bunch of gobbledygook, and nobody's teaching history, nobody's teaching critical thinking at all. You are indoctrinated there. Can you get away with not having a formal education or being, because I'm a self-taught man, self-taught or just not going to that college everybody says?
One doesn't have to go to Princeton in order to be successful. In fact, I went to an Ivy League school, as you said. Many of the people I went to school with, that was sort of the peak for them. They went to the Ivy League school, and life went into decline after that. No, you don't have to go to an Ivy League school. You don't even have to go to college. In college, if you come out of college these days, if you come out of Princeton these days, you will be in debt by $300,000.
That's crazy.
Or somebody will be. Or your parents will write the check. But somebody will be out $300,000. Is it worth it? I can't see how it could be worth it. It's a nice thing. It'll help you get your first job, or maybe even your second job, but after that, it's up to you.
I mean, I think it's just up to you on the very beginning. I guess you could walk in through somebody's door with a diploma. I said to my daughter, she was working, and she was working really hard, and she wanted to get A's, and this is her first year in college, and I said, honey, relax. Nobody's going to say to you, the minute you walk out this door, nobody's going to say to you, well, what was your GPA? Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Maybe the first job, but that's all.
Okay.
Maybe the first job.
The question that people ask me is, what do we do? How would we prepare? If I don't have $1 million or $1 billion, I have a 401k, and we're just eking out a living, as most people are. How would they prepare?
If you've got a 401, if you're going to invest in anything, only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. Don't listen to people you see on television. Don't listen to people you read in the magazines and the newspapers. You invest in only what you yourself know a lot about. Otherwise, just put the money in the bank and earn very little interest these days, but at least you're going to be earning interest, and you're not going to be losing money. Most professional investors do not even do as well as the Dow Jones Industrial Average. They just don't do as well as the averages. So do what you know. If you don't know anything, put your money in the bank and do nothing. And wait. Wait until you find something that you know will be a winner.
You said at some point, and I want to pick it up here, at some point you said that you think the dollar, the cash currency, will be worthless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you?
Yeah, yes, I do. But I don't have the answer that maybe you would have. So if not cash, then what? Back in a second. Back with Jim Rogers. He has a book out called A Gift to My Children, A Father's Lessons for Life and Investing. And when you listen to what he says about what he believes is coming in the world, and especially America, it's hard to put together what he writes to his children. Don't panic.
Well, don't panic. Keep your head clear, because when everybody else is panicking, you've got to be able to take decisive action and the correct action. Very few people do the right thing when they're panicking.
So what is the correct action when somebody says the dollar is going to be worthless, currency will be worthless?
Well, first of all, people need to do their homework. Don't just sit here and listen to me on TV,
right.
I promise you. You've got to understand yourself what's going on. But the way historically you've protected yourself is you own real assets, whether that's silver or rice or, real things, natural gas. The things that go up in price when currencies go down are real things. And if you understand them and you can invest in those things and you know enough about them to invest in them, that's how you protect yourself, and you might make money. And you learn about investing abroad.
What do you mean?
Well, you learn about having some of your assets invested in other countries. Everybody should have some money invested in...
What do you invest in? What do you invest in China? Because you live over in China.
I live in Asia. I don't live in China. I live in Singapore.
Okay.
I own some shares in the Chinese stock market. I own the Chinese currency as well. I have investments in many countries.
Is that the currency of the future, or is there going to be one world currency?
I can't imagine there's going to be one world currency unless somehow or another we go back to the gold standard. If we suddenly had a huge disaster tomorrow, people might reach for gold because there's nothing else they could reach for. But that would be the only kind of world currency I could see.
You say that, because we have an audience full of college-age interns today, and you were saying in the break that everybody here should be learning a foreign language, at least one.
Well, the next 50 years is not going to be like the last 50 years for Americans, whether we like it or not. We're not going to control the world in the next 50 years. We're going to try, but we're not going to be able to do it. So everybody should understand a foreign language and be fluent in it, because we're going to have a lot of dealings with the rest of the world, and that will give you a leg up. My daughters speak Chinese. Now, that's not going to make them successful. But at least if they're working in a Chinese restaurant, at least they're going to be the maitre d'. They're not going to be the dishwasher.
The Mandarin Chinese?
That's what my daughters speak, yes.
Spanish?
Spanish, Mandarin, Portuguese maybe, if you really want to be.
And English?
And English, of course,
yeah.
Yes. My daughters speak English and Chinese.
Okay. All right, when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you said about farms and some of the stats on what you currently see now in farming and what you think is possibly coming our way. We'll do that next. Back with Jim Rogers. Tell me the state of farming around the world.
Well, the world is facing a serious agricultural nightmare coming up. We have inventories of food are the lowest in recorded history. We have no farmers. We have shortages. The average age of farmers in America is 58 years old. In parts of Japan, they have no farmers. They have fields that nobody can farm because there's nobody there. They're bringing in Chinese to try to farm those fields, and they really don't like Chinese, as you know, and yet they're desperate. The world's going to be facing serious problems in the next decade. Those guys who are 58 will be 68 in 10 years if they're still alive. We have nobody going to study agriculture.
Why? Why is that?
Agriculture has been a horrible business, Glenn, for the past 30 years. Nobody's been able to make much money. I suspect all these kids here in your audience, I bet none of them knows anybody who's majoring in agriculture. We produce more physical education graduates every year than we produce agricultural graduates. And now we're going to have to pay the price. You can't make any money in farming, and that's why nobody goes into it, and that's why there's no capital. Prices are going to go higher. That hope will attract.
How long before that happens? How long does, if you're sitting here watching and you're like, okay, I've watched the Glenn Beck program for a while, and he's been trying to scare all the old people to death for the last 2 years, and he does it just because I guess he hates the president or whatever their excuse is. But now I hear you. How long do I have to be able to put some food away before you start to see a real steep?
Go to the shop, go to the grocery store, and see how high prices have gone in the last 2 years. While you say you've been trying to scare people, they can tell you that prices are very high. You probably don't go to the grocery store. Your butler goes to the grocery store.
No, I go to the grocery store. I get my own ice cream, my friend.
All right,
and in New York, $8 a half gallon.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Milk, bread, anything. Prices are going up, and it's going to get a lot worse. But it has to, Glenn, because if prices don't go higher, we're not going to have any farmers, and we're not going to have any food at any price, because prices have to be high enough for farmers to make a living, and then they will be rich, and then young people will say, I'm not going to go to Wall Street, I'm going to become a farmer. Farming is going to be a much better profession the next 20 years than Wall Street.
Are you concerned about the floods that we've had, the E. coli over in Europe? Does this compound the problem, or is this...
Of course it does. Whenever you have something which cuts the supply, we already have low supplies. We have very low inventories right now, historically. And anything that cuts supply makes it worse. Prices are going to go much, much higher. Protect yourself. I plead with you, protect yourself, because it's going to get worse.
I said to Jim, I said, somebody told me to buy water, and he said, no, don't own water, because then you'll be like the oil company is now. How dare you be somebody who's trying to keep this water?
They will call you an evil speculator, and they will hang you in the street. But if you can figure out a way to provide water, to purify water, or transport water, or discover water, they'll build a monument to you in the public square. No, you don't want to be an evil speculator. Then they'll come after you.
Back in a minute. Tomorrow, Greta Van Susteren will be doing a special on sex in Capitol Hill and all the scandals and all that stuff. We will be back here Monday from New York. Good night, America.